What is up, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today we're doing a brand new episode of the United Mexican States. In the last episode, basically what we did is that we did start the construction and naming of a brand new space launch center in the Yucatan Peninsula. We called this the Elena Rosales Space Launch Center, and we also deployed over 10,000 troops into Guatemala. So we have a air base in Guatemala and as well as a land base. This land base holds up to 11,000 troops, and this air base has nearly 1,000. So we can also continue to build our troop base in Guatemala, and this will give us some extended military power into Central America. If we can get a base in Costa Rica and then get things going there, we will essentially have complete control over the entire Central American region, both in the north and in the south, and have extended military reach. So that is really good for us. El Salvador just nominated a new president, and that this is more successful than the last go around. This one was a communist, so we are really good. Really glad to see that our plans in El Salvador worked. So we're going to go ahead and continue on, and we're going to see whether there is a change in relations here. And as well, we are also going to be continuing to spend our little surplus here. Our surplus is at 2.13%, and I want to increase taxes just a tiny bit because our growth is pretty high. It's almost at 7%. And what I want to do is I want to continue to lower inflation. I want to get the inflation down to 5 or at least 3%. If I can get it down 3%, that will be good, because it means that we are just economically feasible. Let's go over to here. Let's go over to world production. Now I'm going to do economic power. We are the 11th largest economy in the world, up from 14th. And so we can see right here, we started off with $1.4 trillion in US dollars, because we did start off the game in US dollars, and now we are at 35 trillion. So kind of do the math here. Someone actually did have a math equation here, so I'm still kind of learning how to read our little conversion rates. So essentially what we have is, if we go over here, every dollar is 5 cents. So every peso in Mexican terms is 5 cents. So it's something along the lines of dividing it by 20, I think. And so it's a little bit, but it's to a point to where at least I can read it and I know how much is too much and how much is too little most of the time. So really don't have to worry too much about it. Wind-powered electricity, could we invest a little bit more into that? Do we have any more fusion reactors coming up online? We do. We do have a fusion nuke, 2 new fusion reactors that are underway. And I also have the idea that there is some oil that needs to be drilled for in the Yucatan Peninsula, and as well as the southern part of Mexico, about west or east of Mexico City. So let's go over to oil wells. Let's go over here. We're going to go over to, what is this, Veracruz. Veracruz does have some pretty substantial oil reserves. So what we're going to do is that we're going to continue to try to dig for some oil. And whenever we can get our oil, that will be good, because it means that we can continue to invest in our well-being. I think I need to go a little bit north. A little bit north here. This is still in Veracruz. Okay, so this is going to be in, what is this, Tamaulipas. Let's go ahead and start the construction there. I think some of the gas wells is what we need to focus on, because I think that's what we were looking at. So this is here, so we have some more gas. Yeah, some more gas that needs to be dug for. We're gonna go for 15, and we're gonna have it done in this episode. And then 14, 15. Could we do anything on the Pacific coast of Mexico? All right, and we are back, and a unfavorable regime change has occurred in El Salvador. However, it is not too bad. We do have a center-right party in power, and this is not a military government, so unfortunately, we continue to lose in El Salvador, and we have some protests here. So we're going to continue to destabilize the region and continue to try to get a friendly government in El Salvador. That way we can get them to roll our way if we need to. Then we're already spying on them in order to launch a special military operation against El Salvador. And if you're wondering whether that was a reference to a certain kind of dumb special military operation, yes, we are repeating the same Russian tactics, dirty Russian tactics that the Russians are employing against the innocent nation of Ukraine. Oh, but they're corrupt. Oh, I don't care. Invading people is still bad. Ooh, but the US invaded Iraq, and yes, that was bad. And so why is it that it was bad to invade Iraq, and invading Ukraine is apparently okay? And I also like how people say that giving weapons to Ukraine is bad, but then they turn around and say that we need to defend Taiwan against China. So, like, what's the difference between defending Taiwan and defending Ukraine? I don't get it. But let's actually check NATO. NATO, what is your membership? Aha, yes, this is always the good ending of the war in Ukraine. Ukraine suffers so much militarily, economically, and everything alike, and they're still admitted into NATO. That is one of my best things that I love about this game, is that it's pretty interesting to see kind of endings that you have. So Europe is completely almost united, just a couple of holdouts, maybe not some more than others, are unfortunately not a part of NATO. I wonder why they're not a part of NATO. We just need to get Moldova in there, even though I am personally not a member of NATO. But if you guys are NAFO, we have any NAFO people out there? Inauguration of a large library in Distrito Federal, so that is the federal district, otherwise known as Mexico City. They actually changed the name of Distrito Federal, and Distrito Federal is now known as just Mexico City, or Mexico City. So let's go over here. Immigration, just going on here. Still negative immigration right now, unfortunately. Illegal immigrants is on its way down. Integration policy, welcoming and appealing, permissive little control, border policy. What is our policy with the United States right now? Determined policy of issuing visas. Let's go ahead and issue no visas to the United States. United States, we don't have to issue visas to them, so that way we can try to get more people to come in. Let's also do the same thing to Canadians, and we're just going to go through and we are going to allow for no visas for a lot of these different kinds of countries. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, and we are back. So apparently in an earlier episode of Mexico, I unfortunately thought that I have opened up our visa program to our friends in the Caillou, and unfortunately that was not the case. So I believe that I somehow got confused whenever I did all of these immigration agreements with our Caillou allies. What I thought I did is that I also opened up our visa program with them, and unfortunately I didn't. So I just opened up every country in Central America to Mexico without needing a visa. This could increase our illegal immigration from these nations, but also I again am trying to turn around my immigration rate as much as I can. The higher that my HDI is, the more I'm likely to have a turnaround in my immigration rate. So basically the way that migration flow works is that the more your HDI is higher, the more attractive your country is economically, like your GDP per capita, for example, everything like that. Essentially, it's more that you're more attractive, you seem like it's better to live in that country. So, but comparatively, obviously, to the United States, I'm pretty sure it's a long shot for right now. I don't even think my GDP per capita is past $10,000. We're at like 200 something thousand. So that is actually about $15,000 in US dollars. So essentially what we want to do is that we want to continue to get that up. So I'm going to aim for about 300,000 pesos. And the way we could do that is we could go over to work. We could go over to illegal employment. And so illegal employment is actually starting to trickle up. And I believe that this is mainly because of our commitments to minimum wage. So what we can do is that since we do have the taxes in order to pay for it, we're going to go and we're going to lower this to 21%. The company tax to 21%. We're going to go ahead and call this the Business Competitiveness Act of 2028. And what this will do is that we're going to go and create the reform. We're going to create the reform, and then we're going to lower our Social Security payments to employers. We're going to do this at 17%, 260, 230. Wow. We make 1.3 trillion pesos off of that. 18.5%, and we're going to continue. We're going to try to pay for it in some other way. So we're going to do that at 18%. Add it to the Business Competitiveness Act. See what that does to our deficit. Okay, we could have lowered it a little bit more at that point. Let's do 8% for employees. Add that to the reform. So we're doing good. We're doing good. Let's try to get this up to 1%. All right, Sand, we are back. We have a massive tax reform that is underway at this moment. The Business Competitiveness Act of 2028 has a 73.4% chance of passing. This will do the following. It will reduce the airline ticket tax to 5%. It will reduce the employee tax to 8%. It will reduce the employer tax to 18.5%. The company tax will go down to 21%. The tax on company turnover will go to 1.25%. The tax on financial transactions will go to 1%. The tobacco tax will go to 40%, and the carbon tax will go to 3,000 pesos. Why is the carbon tax in here? This is mostly to continue to try to lower CO2 emissions, and CO2 emissions, we need to meet our 2030 goals and to continue to reduce our CO2 emissions. We are on track to meet our 2030 goals, and if I go over to... Yep, we see it right here. We will meet our goals for 2030. We are now under 300 megatons, and we will continue to lower our emissions with that increased carbon tax. And you can see we were actually like doing pretty bad for like half of the first half, and until like kind of said, okay, we need to go ahead and try to beat our 2030 goals. We do seem to be meeting them, and by 2040 we should be on track to get to carbon neutrality and eliminate carbon emissions from our entire economy and essentially become a green economy. Someone said that they get annoyed whenever I say essentially, so I apologize for that, and I'm continuing to try to be really good about not saying essentially. Javier Hero, a simple citizen,
agents have infiltrated,
is being kidnapped, so we just sent our special forces in there. Army, we have 2.9 million equipment, and 650,000 people are being recruited for our army, and we have 572,000, which we should be number like 4 right now. I think we're just behind. We're gonna be just behind Pakistan when it comes to troop numbers. Satellites, we do have 5 satellites, so let's go over here. Let's go over to where is our satellites, and let's go ahead and get our lads over El Salvador. Let's see what happens. I want to see what kind of intel we can get on El Salvador. So that means we have the entire country being seen, so we have all of their military bases available to us, so we know exactly where their troops are, how many troops are there, and more. So good. Really like to hear that. And they don't even have ships, so we will literally just be able to take their naval base just right off of the bat. Don't even have to fight for it. It's kind of concerning to the Salvadorians about why Mexico is building their military bases so close to their border. Unfavorable regime change, but it looks like that our relations kind of improved a little bit. I think that was because of the opening up of the visa program. Immigration, I think El Salvador, let's go to work. Let's go to minimum wage, and let's reduce the minimum wage. Let's reduce that just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. So I think that literally just kind of sank our chances. No, we're good. So we just need to make sure that our popularity doesn't tank anymore.
Our services.
Immigration. So immigration is continuing to kind of go up. We're gonna wait for the policy or tax reform to pass, and it's almost gonna pass, so we'll go ahead and skip forward to that. All right, and we have some major news going on right now. 462 people have died in a terrorist action in El Salvador, with 1,300 injured. There's no word yet on what happened specifically in El Salvador. Illegal immigrants, the Secretary of Homeland Security of the United States has resigned. Research scientists have just discovered nanorobots in Mexico. So we need to look for El Salvador. Plane crash. So we have a plane crash, terrorist action in El Salvador, in which they have possibly Salvadorian claims responsibility. So this is a massive catastrophe in El Salvador, in which hopefully the Mexican government doesn't really have anything to do with. Unfortunately, the Mexican government has nothing to do with any kind of actions here in the Salvadorian nation. So we have no responsibility over such an action, and this is a completely independent action committed by the Salvadorian Democratic Action, which is not financially backed by the Mexican government and is not armed or sent arms by the Mexican government. There is no way that I'm probably gonna have to cease relations in a couple of minutes, so unfortunately, let's go ahead and move on. We have a massive strike underway in Mexico right now. We have 880,000 people on the streets protesting, picketing, and asking that we remove the law which reduces the minimum wage. So we need to go ahead and appear on television. In the modern world, a respected state leader must give an image of hyperactivity and omnipresence and not be preoccupied with managing the budget. This is by Fidel Washington. This is the guy that like Everson made up like a couple of years ago, like 10 years ago, whenever they made the first Power and Revolutions, or the geopolitical games. Television appearances give good visibility and can reach large audiences, a reflection of the interest that people has for its leaders' policies, but make sure not to abuse it because it could damage your credibility. So let's go ahead and do this, and hopefully it will end the protest very, very soon. The reduction of the minimum wage is the reason for this active popular protest. I have already deployed men to maintain public order. I'll strike against reduction in the minimum wage.
A showdown, and well, you got it. We have ordered an unlimited general strike. The main industrial sectors will be affected, as well as transport. At this time, the call to mobilize the workers continues and has had a huge response in the service industries. The door is still open. But you must know that we are determined to fight your scandalous social policy and to defend the minimum wage whatever it takes.
So we have just a massive social anxiety underway. Strike decisive and respected Claudia Scheinbaum.
Television appearance was very well received.
Very well received. I really don't want to listen to that. Let's listen to Claudia's address.
I understand the disappointment, even the resentment felt by the strikers. But today, I officially ask them to go back to work because they are harming themselves and their country this way. As soon as this is done, the government will take responsibility for investigating and responding to their demands.
And again, a more decisive Claudia Scheinbaum. 1.2 million people are out on the streets picketing right now, and we have to see how this response will be taken. So we have 1.2 million continuing to protest right now. I think in the next episode, we will also see the United States presidential elections. So we need to go ahead and say yes to having this funding meeting and continue to give the Democrats some more money to ensure that they're going to win this election. We need to ensure that the Republicans will not win, and what we are going to do is whenever it is 60 days from the election, we will invest into a cyber attack against the Republican Party. 27% approval rating right now in the United States for President Joe Biden. He has the sale of nuclear missiles to foreign powers. They have proof of this. And financial aid to terrorist organizations. They have proof. So I think that's actually information that we might have. So we're going to have to hold on to that and maybe try to get something to blackmail them with. But I don't know. I really hope that this isn't going to adversely affect the relations if the Republicans win. We really, really, really need to make sure that the Republicans will not win this next presidential election. Who I'm curious about is who is running in the presidential elections. Will we be seeing Mitch McConnell run for president, or could we be see the return of President Ronald Trump? Ronald Trump was the one that won the previous elections or lost the previous elections. Ooh, kind of stepped into a little conversation I really don't want to get into there.
Wait.
Minimum solidarity allowance. Could we need to possibly increase that, because apparently poverty is on its way up. Actually, it dropped from 8% to 3%. Wow, look at that. Illegal employment is continuing to trickle up. We need to continue to try to fight that. Our approval rating just dropped 8%. 1.5 million people are on the streets right now protesting the decrease in the minimum wage. This is exactly why it is really bad. This is exactly why it's a really bad idea to increase the minimum wage, because then whenever the illegal employment is going to start going up, then you have to decrease it, and it's just a real frustrating thing. This is starting to have an adverse effect on the economy, so we need to start trying to reduce the effect that this has. We need to possibly consider that the minimum wage needs to go back up. Strike is still on. The police forces count 332,000 strikers across the country, Madam President. Is that true? 1.6 million? That is not true. So what is the next thing? We could have the police intervene and arrest the main leaders. That could really escalate the situation. I really don't want to do that. Happiness declines in Mexico. I wonder why. We have a massive protest. 1.8 million people are protesting in the streets right now. Gap between the rich and the poor, big poverty with satisfactory level, and China discovers holographic television. Let's go ahead and increase our subsidies to 20 billion pesos. That will increase our deficit just a tiny bit, but it will give us a boost in our approval rating.
Has finally rotted away at the whole territory. We are done for.
Alright, and so we are in the month of June. So what we're hoping for is increased income tax. The protest is over. It lasted 13 days in total, and it ended once we did give that increased subsidies. We actually got a game-ending message from our advisor where it basically said that the strike has rotted away at the whole country and that we are done for. We had 2 million people protesting in the streets against the government, which is the largest, I mean the largest protest in this game's history. We fortunately were saved just by sheer luck right there. We do see like things like 500,000 people were in the streets in 2027 over with the women's rights movement. Demonstrations 283,000. 2 million people were protesting in the streets just a couple of days ago, and fortunately, we were saved just by sheer luck right there. So I'm really glad to see, and I kind of waited a couple of days trying to see whether there was going to be any kind of game ending message. We fortunately have not seen that yet. I was really considering kind of like ending the series right there. Caillou summits for the organization's central banks. Go ahead. I was really considering ending the series right there and just being like, all right, we did everything we could, and I mean, it would be a really interesting way to end a series, but fortunately we're going to continue to go on, but can't really have too much of a perfect playthrough. Pretty interesting to see kind of maybe a little bit of intensity here for that. The protest or the attack in El Salvador seems to have been recovered. I actually meant to send them some money, but unfortunately I guess I was unable to. Let's go over here, give them 2.5 billion pesos. Go ahead and send that over. It's about like $100 million, I guess. That's in the state of Nayarit. Media, let's do a little bit of more investing into our 5G internet and move that up to 30%, 2 months. And legislation, privatization, cut off all selective internet censorship, and maybe we could move to freedom of expression. Freedom of expression is the freedom to spread a known piece of information, a truth that would be ideally be objective. The relationship between the government and power and the media determines the precise contours of freedom of information in the country. We could go for freedom of expression. Do have a pretty mixed system, so I don't think it's too bad. Let's go to energy. Do we have those constructions completed? We do. Let's see. So these ones, 1,500,000. What about these ones that I had under construction? So those are going to be done in the next episode. We do have a windmill under construction. That's 180 days. And could we invest into another port? Let's go to construction. Do we have a oil tanker port? Oil tanker port is under construction right here. That'll be done on 208 days. So I think we could go for one more commercial port. And then let's get that done in 8 months. 8 months, and we will build this. Maybe we could do it in Cancun. Could we do it in north of Merida? Let's do this right next to the oil tanker port. This is in Veracruz. Let's call it the Port Coatzacoalcos. I think we're going to skip forward to the Caillou Summit. We're going to call it an episode. All right, and we are back. We have a new interest rate at 0.15%. Someone actually made the suggestion that I probably should have done this monthly because of the instability of the Central American market. And you are right, because I'm an idiot, and unfortunately I only did it at 1 quarter. So that sucks because I should have accounted for the instability of my smaller country compared. If it was the United States, like the United States and Canada doing this, or even the United States and Mexico and Canada having one single currency, I definitely would have been more keen on doing this quarterly, but because it is a smaller country and my interest rates and economic activity kind of fluctuates a little bit more than the United States, I definitely should have done it monthly. Other than that, no positive trend to speak of. What is illegal employment at? So it's kind of stabilized now, actually. So over the last 2 months, it has stabilized. So you can actually see that I went up just a tiny bit and then went right back down. So that's lowering of the minimum wage did do the trick. So good. This is whenever I increase the minimum wage, and then this is whenever I got rid or kind of lowered the minimum wage. Maybe we can get rid of the entire minimum wage or even lower it down to 1,500 pesos, but we already had a hard enough time reducing it by about 100 pesos, so I don't think that's going to be a possibility. Other than that, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss anything whenever I do make it to the channel. If you guys want to see more Mexico, comment down below what your suggestions are for this episode, for the next episodes, and what kind of other series do you guys want to see. I know my content has been a little bit slow and I've only had time to make Power and Revolution series so far, but I will be returning to World Warfare and Economics. It's been a busy couple of weeks. The holidays, I work retail, so basically during the holidays, it is almost impossible to have time. And I've just been extremely busy over the past couple of weeks. And so that's why you've barely seen me stream, and that's why you've barely seen me make that much content. But I'm still here. I'm still making content, and I still love to make content for you guys. So I don't plan on going anywhere, hopefully, unless I die. But other than that, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content, hit that bell notification icon. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.